Hey Greg,
Hello.
what are short ends?
Well, a short end is a partial roll of unexposed film stock left over during a motion picture production and kept for later use.
Wrong.
What?
It's a place for us to chat about films, events, and other movie related topics we don't normally cover in our main episodes.
Let's do it.
Hello and welcome to Short Ends. I'm Andres Anglade, one of your hosts, and with me is,
I'm Greg Bellavia.
and we want to discuss something very cool because Greg was able to go to the Aero Horrorthon 2025. So, Greg, for those who don't know, what is Aero Horrorthon?
Now, I almost feel like I shouldn't be talking about this because for years it was the best kept secret in town. But here in Los Angeles, there are several different horrorthons that go on, and I think, look, guys, don't quote me on this, but I believe the New Beverly is probably the one that sells out the fastest. If you don't get tickets, like immediately, that one's going to go. And I was able to get tickets in the early years, but the last couple of years, it's been brutal. Happening quietly in the background, and honestly going on longer, is the Aero Horrorthon here in Santa Monica. And this was their 20th year. I went last year and I was excited to go back this year. And every Horrorthon's got their own kind of shtick going. At the New Beverly, you're going to get maybe some short films, maybe some old-timey trailers. And the Aero 100% does their own thing. The New Bev's delightful, but this is delightful in its own way, where it's inside jokes, it's references to Telly Savalas, it's
Okay.
references to like old-timey commercials. They're devoted to Bill the Business King, who appeared in a Red Roof Inn ad from, I think, like close to 20 years ago. And you get in on the inside jokes. So throughout the evening, it's like call and response with these different little vignettes that are coming up. There's Gorn, the living god, who comes out, the Gorn from Star Trek. He comes out and he's, in front of the audience. There's evil washing machines. It's a whole production. It's a whole thing. So in between the movies, you're getting like skits. They're tossing candy out to the crowd. They're tossing toast out to the crowd. It's a happening. It's funny. Just people don't talk about this. And it's been going on for 2 decades at this point. And it never had the Twitter following that a New Bev did. And again, I feel maybe bad even saying this, but it sold out pretty quick this year. So I feel like people are catching on to just the
So,
enjoy the horror season.
is it something? So, if I went, never having gone to one, would I understand the skits? Is it pretty, or you have to sort of be in the in crowd to know what's happening?
No, I was not cool until last year. So last year was my first year, so I had to get up to speed quickly. You
That's
catch on
Greg.
to what's.
Greg, you are always cool.
Oh,
Do not ever say you're not cool.
well, I'll say this. So the last year, the theme was the Horrorthon was under attack, and they were trying to shut the Horrorthon down throughout the night.
Oh wow.
And it was like, who is going to save us? Who is going to save the Horrorthon? Ripping their mask off. It's the actor from the Red Roof Inn ad that we've been watching all night.
Amazing.
And he got this, the crowd, we're on our feet screaming. Somebody at the Arrow said it's the most excited they've ever seen a crowd for any screening in the history, whatever. And he was back this year. And again, standing ovation for him showing up. And he goes, this is the honor of my life. And I have a child.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I think facetious, but still.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, but so look, if you like watching horror movies, you want to stay up all night, that's great. But they do kind of fill it out. And I've been to other horror-thons, and look, I always love them. I always have a good time. I have never seen anything like this one. So if you're in Santa Monica, stop by. Just make sure I get a ticket first beforehand, because if I get bought out in future years, I'm going to be annoyed that we did this one.
That's fair. So for the Aero Horrorthon, were they showing a number of features? Was it short films? Like what was it this year?
They really do not lean into shorts or trailers, which is where you think they'd go. They do show just like 6 features, and some horrorthons tell you, some don't. They used to. Now they do clues. So 24 hours before, they'll send out a cryptic email with like 6 different clues, and you can put together. I only unlocked the first one. I realized they were doing Toby Hooper's The Fun House, and then some of the other ones were a little too obscure for me. On Reddit or on Letterboxd, there's groups trying to work together to figure it out. So they, just kind of keeping an eye on that. Some were unlocked, but not all of them. No, it's a good lineup. So I've been on a Toby Hooper kick anyway, so that's been great. So I was thrilled they were showing
Yeah.
the Fun House. I hadn't seen
Yeah.
that in years. Have you seen that one?
I haven't. Out of the two of us, I would not say I'm the horror guy, but I absolutely enjoy horror films. I just know that that is the one part of my cinematic journey that I am the least intelligent about.
There's more to discover.
Yeah. And I look forward to it.
The Fun House there's a double date going to the local like carnival, and they're gonna stay out after dark, like well beyond. And their plan is let's sleep over in the Fun House, which is basically an excuse so they can hook up that night, just undisturbed.
Nice.
But while they're there, they discover something kind of nefarious. Then the rest of the night is them trying to like make it through. So the first half of the movie is just carnival hijinks. So you gotta sit through this. So it's them at the carnival. There's different things happening, and then the second half kind of slides into a slasher film. And when I was younger, the first half kind of like, okay, let's go. Let's get to the fireworks factory already. Now the whole thing's very charming. So I like kind of the dinginess, fun of the carnival. And then it does pay off in the second half. So I will give that one a thumbs up.
That's awesome. What's the time frame? When did you show up? When did you actually leave the theater?
Okay, that's good. I'm going to go off half-cocked here. I do not know for sure. What I've noticed recently is they do horror-thons at the New Beverly. They do horror-thons at Brain Dead Studios, which used to be Cinefamily over on Fairfax. And they do horror-thons over at the Alamo. All three of those start during the day and let out at night. The Aero is the only one that starts at 7 o'clock at night and goes to 7 in the morning.
Wow. You were there
I don't
the
know if
whole
that's like a
time.
zoning thing, because New Bev used to go all night. I'm not sure if something changed in the neighborhood where you're not allowed to stay up all night, or if it was, just the crowd, or I would love to hear the backstory there. I am not privy to that, but I wanted something that went all night long.
Oh, that's so fun. So what are the other films you saw?
So it was the Funhouse. The second one was Tom Savini's Night of the Living Dead remake from 1990, which is really good. And then Tony Todd, R.I.P., was in that. And everything he did, the crowd was going completely insane for him. So that was fun. And this is a director's cut, and they said it had never been screened before. So that was fun. It's available, to buy, but they never like projected it in the theater. So that was a lot of fun. Alternate opening and like a little bit more gore with Tom Savini. That's fantastic. Third one was, okay, so Prom Night is a slasher movie.
Yeah.
Prom Night 2, Hello, Mary Lou, was not supposed to be part of the Prom Night franchise. It was supposed to be a haunted high school film, but to cash in, they called it Prom Night 2, but the films have nothing to do with each other. And it's a Carrie ripoff, Exorcist ripoff, and Nightmare on Elm Street ripoff all in one.
This sounds like a movie I might need to see.
And it's very Canadian. So big thug. Yeah.
Did you like it? Is it worth
I've seen it before. I was thrilled to see it with a crowd.
Oh, I want to see this now. I'm definitely adding that to my watch list.
Yeah, really good. That's a sleeper. I would recommend. The fourth movie was Demon Witch Child, which is a Spanish Exorcist ripoff, which is like, it's one of those so bad it's good. And with the crowd was going insane. It's this little girl is possessed by a witch. But by possessed by a witch, it's a little girl who keeps putting on old person makeup. So it's a little girl that looks like this witch. And I'm not gonna lie on this podcast. Last year, the last film was a heavy metal rock and roller called Black Roses, and I was fighting for my life to stay awake during that one. This one, I was having a little bit of trouble, and during the ending, I nodded off for 1 minute, and the witch's screams woke me up, and then I was back for the rest of it. So I was out for 1 minute. That's my confession. But screaming witches brought me right back.
Are you sure it wasn't you who was actually screaming?
I was so scared of Demon Witch Child that perhaps. And then after hours, they give out snacks and coffee, which I appreciate, for free. So shout out to the Aero. So I was plugging coffee at that point. And then movie number 5 is my background. This is my biggest surprise of the night. It is Squirm, which is a killer worm movie. This is the type of thing that you'd catch at a drive-in. Nice. And this was the one I was afraid about. This appeared on Mystery Science Theater 3000. And I thought this was going to be bad if it's going to show up there. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't want to sit through like a 70s, because, it's a 70s creature feature. Maybe this is going to be really slow. And do I want to watch this in like the wee hours in the morning? And I thought this was charming as hell. I thought this was really enjoyable. So the setup is awesome. The director in real life, their brother, to get bait to go fishing, stuck electricity in the ground and zapped worms. And worms just came floating to the surface. And that was such a visceral, horrible visual. The director kept using, I could use that for something.
Yeah.
So it's wonky, nonsensical science. But here there's been a storm, and with the down power lines going into the ground, it's making all the worms come up and like really aggressive. But the characters don't know that at first. So it's a this rural little town, but this woman's boyfriend is coming to visit her from New York. So he's like this fish out of water. So half the movie is this very cute couple played by actors you've never seen before, like not famous actors.
Yeah.
And it's them enjoying their time together, but they're uncovering this mystery of like, who's killing these people? It kind of was a romantic comedy. I was into it. And then the second half is frickin' worm mayhem. They bought hundreds of thousands of worms and had rubber worms, but you have people like opening doors and worm and like this is not CGI. This is people getting nailed with worms. So really enjoyed it. One of the rare cases where the MST3K, a little harsh. I mean, I'm sure the riffing was funny, but like really enjoyed it. An awesome bitchin' poster behind it.
Yeah. The crowd had to have been having such a blast with that one.
Towards the end, something happens, and I thought it was delightful. And before I could even really react, the whole place just exploded into applause. So
Amazing.
I thought that was. And then the movie just about everybody got wrong was the clues were leaning towards Ted Nugent for the final movie. A lot of like cat scratch fever, that type of thing. So you go online, you play detective, and Ted Nugent contributed to a John McTiernan movie, Nomads, with Pierce Brosnan. That's pretty obscure. Okay, well that would match the clue. Well, that's not what it was. The last movie was Night of the Demon, which is a killer Bigfoot movie. Oh. Where the main character is Dr. Nugent.
Okay.
And it has the most brilliant storytelling device I've ever seen. Every time the movie starts to flag and bore you, the professor's like, this reminds me of a Bigfoot attack. And it cuts to the Bigfoot killing somebody. And it's sleazy and it's gory. And I can't even just, there's scenes that'll make you laugh. I cannot think of a better movie when you've been sleep deprived than watching Bigfoot just ripping people apart it's very wrong-headed. It's one of the, why did you make this? But if you're into that type of movie, I could not recommend it more. And the crowd was like living for it. And I'll say 60% of the people made it through the whole night.
That's awesome.
Which is pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. How did you do the next day?
I was committed. I would have slept there if I had to. I was gonna, and then I went into work that morning. So that was it. So
oh my gosh, I didn't know that. That's crazy.
No one was ever the wiser.
You're a trooper, and just for the podcast, right?
Of course. But I'd say this also. So I had seen 3 of them. I had not seen 3 of them. I like as long that's good. I like that ratio. Not a dud in the bunch. I enjoyed all 6.
I love it. And this is done sort of every spooky season, right?
Every year, and I think they've generally been the last week in October. I'm not sure if they've done that all the time, but the last 2 years they've done that, and it's a lot of fun. So A, if you like horror movies, just come out. B, if you really want like a different show, I highly recommend. Another thing is they're like, bring in food, just make sure you're not going to disturb your neighbor with it. So it's like they're very like open and like they're there for you to have a good time. And it's a very receptive audience. And so I appreciate that.
Oh, that's so cool. I'm glad you were able to experience that. Like I said, I really like horror movies. I'm just not as in tune to them. So much so, when we were talking about this podcast, it reminded me, I remember when I was in elementary school, I must have been in 5th or 6th grade. And a friend of mine, his older brother who was in high school, him and his friends were huge horror film fanatics. And I remember there was one point where they were asking me, they had kind of gone through all the movies that they owned, and they were just like, hey man, you like movies, right? Do you have any horror movies? And I was intimidated that this older kid was talking to me. So I was just like, yeah, I think I have one. He's like, cool, why don't you let me borrow it? Because I remembered at one point I had walked in on my parents watching a particular film that had this crazy camera work and this guy with this sort of mangled, weird, almost green face. And it freaked me out. So I like ran back to my room and I was like, that's a horror film that they were watching. I can't believe they were watching it and that they owned it. So I grabbed a copy of that movie and I brought it to my friend. And about a week later, I saw him and he came up to me with this sort of strange look on his face. He handed me the movie back and he said, that was a good movie, but that's not a horror movie. Greg, it was Papillon with Steve McQueen and Dustin Hoffman. And I don't know. I
know exactly what you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about.
In the dream, but his face is all,
his face is all green. That's the moment I saw when I walked in on my parents watching it, and in my little kid brain, I was like, "That's a horror movie." Oh my god,
locked up for a crime you didn't commit for all those years. That's horror, my friend. That's
And look, I finally saw the movie years later, and I just was like laughing just because I'm thinking about a group of teenagers, high schoolers getting together, expecting to watch some horror movie, and then they end up getting this prestige drama.
That's amazing. Well, I had what my version of that is I used to like host sleepovers at our place. I wanted like a funny comedy, and I look, Dad, what's a good comedy? And look, my dad's taste is wonderful, but not for these teenagers. He gave me a title, and I thought he meant because both of these movies had played on Fox recently. I thought he was telling me to rent Top Secret, which would have been perfect.
Yeah.
Exactly what.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, right, that just played on Fox recently. Great, we'll rent that. It was Brazil, which is not something you want to watch at midnight with a whole bunch of kids expecting a comedy. So people were falling asleep, people were confused. So it's like it was kind of a grueling. And like,
Oh no,
that's now on like that's like my top 10 favorite movies of all time. But I always remember that very memorable screening of like, what the hell is this? What's happening? So
I love that. I love that. Well, along the same lines, you know, we had a discussion off the podcast. My niece was hosting her first horror night with friends, and she had made a list of horror movies. She reached out and wanted to know, like, what were some good horror movies. Now, I'm not going to put her on blast and say what the list was, but it offered, you know, for us, it made us have an interesting discussion because what immediately came to mind for us was, oh, what about The Sixth Sense? That seems like it would be good for a teenage crowd. However, the big question in our heads was, is that twist ending so big? Is it even effective watching that movie?
well, it's like that, and like, do the next generation, is it baked in that they know that? Do they baked it like Fight Club? Do they know that one? Or is it like has enough time passed where it's not a hot topic anymore? So why are people going to bring it up? I will say, since we've discussed that, my buddy watched it with his kids for Halloween. They had no idea and they were shocked.
Oh, wow. So they watched Sixth Sense?
Yep.
And they were super shocked. Oh, I'm so glad to hear that it was effective. And spooky season is winding down, so we wanted to have our resident horror expert give us a couple of film recommendations for the holidays. Greg, do you have a couple films you might want to share with our listeners?
Indeed, I do. Indeed, I do. So you're going to get two for the price of one. With this first one, My Bloody Valentine. It's a slasher film from '81. You may have seen it, all you horror fans. I can see you nodding out there, but you may have seen it before. But only recently, last couple of years, did they discover the gore. For years, you could only see a cut version of this film. And right when it was getting good, you cut away to something else. So the uncut version is available. It was always a good slasher movie. Now it's an extra good slasher movie. So definitely put that one on. And if you've seen it before, give it a second chance with the added material. And then I'm a defender of the 2009 remake. There's a version in 3D. If you're able to see it in 3D, is it a gimmick? Sure. But is it a lot of fun in a slasher movie? Yes. I think it's an underappreciated one that nobody really talks about. It's a good time, both of them. And it just plenty of slasher franchises that get a lot of lip service. I feel like those don't get talked about as much, and that'd be great. But the one I really want to champion here is the best Thanksgiving horror movie of all time, Blood Rage, which is like, what if John Waters directed a slasher film?
Oh, whoa.
The premise is there's two twin brothers. One of them's sweet. The other one's deranged. The deranged one commits a murder, but the sweet one gets locked away for years on end. He ends up escaping, and that gives the other one a license to go on a killing spree because they can blame it on the twin. And it's chock full of ridiculous gore and moments that will make you laugh and you're not sure why they included it in a slasher movie. It's very offbeat. It is absolutely 100% based around and involves Thanksgiving themes. It is a truly oddball film, but if you're into horror or very offbeat comedy and can put up with gore, I highly recommend it.
I've never even heard of that film. So hopefully
it flies very under the radar, but it's odd. It's oddly charming. So if you're into something offbeat, huge thumbs up.
Awesome. Well, Greg, thank you so much for telling us about Horrorthon. This was a lot of fun. I may build up the courage to join you next year. We'll see.
Hey, what a treat.
If you want to reach out and send a comment, you can email us at realdeemers@gmail.com.